Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Cookiecast. Today on Cookiecast, it's the Darkest Timeline podcast, so you've got me for the day. There'll be games, there'll be movies, there'll be TV, and I'm sure I'll be moaning about something. So here we go, this is Cookiecast, the Darkest Timeline podcast. Alright, here we go. It's Cookiecast, Darkest Timeline podcast. Worked out the other day. So I coded 6 podcasts in 2 days. Friday, Saturday of last week. And I worked out when I do the Darkest Timeline podcast, I do like double introductions, because obviously I put an introduction at the beginning of the podcast. So I probably don't need to do that. Probably still keep doing it. Anyway, I'll come back to the 6 podcasts I coded in a bit. So yeah, it's Cookie. We're with Cookiecast, Darkest Timeline podcast. I found out today the tagline for this podcast. Obviously, we've got Yorkshire's #1 NFL podcast, and I don't know what the football one is. Middlesbrough and Nottingham Forest's best podcast. I don't know. But the tagline for this one is Cookiecast's most listened to podcast. So there you go. Out of like the top 10, 9 of them were this bad boy. That's right. People love listening to me talk. That's not true. Oh yeah, chugging on the second energy drink of the day. At least I haven't had 3 cups of coffee. One I forgot that I'd even had. Alright then. So, this week, I'm going to curse it now. This week is probably going to be quite a short one. My film watching has dropped right off. My game playing compared to recent times has really narrowed. For a reason I'm going to talk about in a moment. I haven't really done much in the last week. So yeah, I have very little on the list. I eked a movie only by watching the last 10 minutes of it earlier today. Anyway, let's kick things off and see how far we get. So the last week, where are we? So it's Monday today. Last Tuesday I was suffering. It was before that. So it's been like for the last week. In fact, was I saying on last week's podcast that I was fighting and losing the battle against the illness? So anyway, for the last week, I've been suffering with a cold, which is the first cold of the winter. I can't imagine it'll be the last. I'm generally surrounded by colds and germs and things. But I got what I like to call a work cold, which was a feat in itself. Podcast alum James Panas did the thing that I personally love more than anything in this world, where he got sick and then rather than thinking, I've got a laptop and I can work at home and just, I'm still being productive because I'm working, but I'm keeping myself away from other people with my germs. Yes, it is just a cold, but best not to spread it around and take many people down. Instead of doing that, he was like, I couldn't possibly take time off. Working from home isn't time off, let's not forget. Couldn't possibly take time off, because that's the culture that we live in. Couldn't possibly do that. Have to go to work with all these germs, even though I do have the option to work from home. So, went to work, and from what I'm told, gave his monster mutant cold to everyone. Like, at one point, I'm pretty sure I was told that half of the office were off sick. One of the people that he gave the monster mutant cold, as it will always be known, to is one Thomas Quinn. Thomas Quinn, who came to my house, said, I don't want to bring you the cold because it's horrible. I certainly don't want to give it to the baby. I'll see how I feel. That sort of thing. Said he was feeling better. He came. Me and the baby enjoyed spending time with Uncle Tom. Tom went away. Unfortunately, when he went away, he didn't take his cold with him. He left as a little gift. To be fair, he brought us other gifts, and they were very nice. Pears and jams and jellies and things. Absolutely exceptional work. But the other gift he left was his cold. So, I got a cold. And it has been a doozy of a cold. You know the cold that you get? That, to me, a cold is like 3 to 5 days. You feel a bit grotty, you got a blocked nose, you got a sore throat, you got a bit of a headache. You sometimes can get the body ache, like the arm ache and stuff like that. Very similar to the headache. But it doesn't hang around forever. I have a threshold for sickness. So if you get like a tummy bug, 2 days max, 48 hours, tummy bug, done. Cold, 3 to 5 days. You definitely want to be feeling better by day 5. Can't think of any common illnesses off the top of my head right now to give you another timescale. But a cold, 3 to 5 days. Once we pass the 5-day barrier, I am like, yeah, I'm done with this now. I don't want to be sick anymore. You know those things like a cold doesn't take you out of action, but at the same time it does. You know, you can still get out of bed, you can still function. It just makes everything harder. And it's like everything's like an uphill struggle. So I got the cold, but then at the 5-day point, I'm like totally feeling better. Cool. This one's been a bit of a doozy, but it's fine. We're feeling better. Next thing, I'm like, hang on a minute. I don't feel better. I actually feel worse. Oh, I feel worse than I did at the worst point of the cold. What is happening right now? Oh my God, I'm getting the cold again. It was like this was like a cold that went, yeah, so I'm mutated cold, and what I do is, at the moment you think you feel better, I give you another dose of cold. So then 2 days more feeling awful at this point, and fully sick to the back teeth of it. I can't tell you that I'm fully better. This morning I was like, yeah, I think this cold's gone. All the way through the morning I'm like, yeah, I think we're done with this cold. That's good. At this point, the evenings and the nights are the worst. At this point in time, yeah, I can't say the cold is gone. You could probably hear it. Like I said, I coded 6 podcasts over 2 days, and every single one of those podcasts is an opener and a closer of me going, oh, blah, 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 because I can't breathe through my nose. Yeah, just an absolute monster cold. Spoilers, it has hindered my ability to do certain things. Being an asthmatic and being quite badly asthmatic. Generally it's under control, but it's one of those things that I get a cold and it often goes straight to my chest. There was a couple of days of having this cold where I'm like, I think I've used my inhaler 30 times today and I don't think it's done anything. Those are the sorts of things that you can't really do too much in certain areas, but I'll save that till later. So, let's talk about movies. So, I hinted that I've been watching this film. I've now finished it. I only finished it today. Spoilers, I didn't go to the gym. I spoiled it. I didn't go to the gym. So I had to make the decision to finish that movie today so that I could talk about it, because I realised that I think I've been talking for a couple of weeks saying that I was watching this film. I'm watching a film called... Oh, Jesus. Hitman Redemption? Let me just double check that. I don't know whether it's Hitman's or... I was sure I had written this down exactly as it appeared. Hitman... I was going to bring up like the Hitman. Of course I don't have. Hey, I should do a podcast about how utterly shit my internet is after all the internet problems that I had like a month ago or wherever, a couple of months ago. No, it is called Hitman Redemption. That is a really weird name for a film. Surely it should be Hitman's. Is that me? I'm probably not the best person to look at grammatical things, I guess. Anyway, never mind. So this film, I saw a trailer for it a little while ago. I was like, it looks interesting. Main actor, top bill was Ron Perlman. Huge Ron Perlman fan. Always a fan. Always have been. All the way back to Beauty and the Beast. Certainly Hellboy. Let's go there. Will always attempt to watch something that he is in, because he's generally in the sort of things that I would like to watch. It's one of those things that he in some small way managed to redeem Pacific Rim because of the character he played, sort of thing. Again, coding those podcasts, listening to me swinging on that can. Absolute nightmare. Obviously, it hasn't stopped me from doing that. So, top Ron Perlman movie. I'll give this a go. Trailer looked okay. Female lead, Famke Janssen. Yes, I'm with you. What I didn't realise was one of the people that was in it was Richard Dreyfuss. Exceptional actor. Was that everyone? There was a young lad in it who I've seen in something else. So, premise being is that Ron Perlman, shocker, is a hitman. And there are a series of things going on. He's like an aging hitman. He's probably going into his twilight years. He gets his jobs from a Jewish tailors, dry cleaners, maybe. Yeah, it's real obvious what it was. You kind of do is Rob Perlman supposed to be Jewish in this? He does his thing. It seems like he has a set way of doing his hitman contracts. It involves an umbrella. And so far through the film, Richard Dreyfuss turns up. Dreyfuss? He would appear to be like the big boss. And he's like, I need you to do a job for me. And Ron Perlman's like, what about the other guy who has been mentioned earlier in the film, who's stealing all my jobs. What about him? You like him more? It's like, no, I need someone I can trust. It's like, all right, whatever. Partway through, he's got these 3 contracts, 3 hitman contracts, where he's got to take out these 3 different people. And so far, through trying to do these contracts, he ends up coming in contact with Famke Jenssen's character. And there's twists, or a twist. There's a couple of twists. Anyway, I'm not going to spoil it. That is me giving as brief an overview as I can when there was, now I think about it, quite a lot going on in that film. So let's review this film. Wow. Low budget does not even begin to cover it. I would go out on a limb and say indie film if it didn't have some reasonable actors / actress. I can imagine this is how the conversation went at the start of the process of making this film. Hey, let's make a film about hitmen. Oh, yeah, that sounds good, yeah, people like that sort of thing, yeah, cool. Okay, cool, let's do it. Does anybody know what a hitman does? No, not really. We'll wing it. That, I can only imagine, is how the meeting went. Because, wow, there is so much wrong with the way that Ron Perlman's character works as a quote-unquote hitman. So much wrong. So much wrong. Yeah, just, it's like they decided to make a film about hitmen not knowing anything about hitmen. I'm not saying I know hitmen, but, you know, I played the game. Anywho, so Ron Perlman's a hitman, if you can believe that. The film does nothing to help your belief in this premise. He's doing these jobs. He comes in contact with Famke Janssen. She is the female lead. Some might say the love interest. Not the film. The film would say that she is, for want of a better way of putting it, a very attractive woman. And I don't think I'm going to be mistaken if I say that Ron Perlman isn't a stunningly attractive gentleman, let's say. And bless her, she really did try to make it seem like there was an attraction there. But it was like they knew that she could only do so much, and he didn't want to push it. So there's like a, not a sex scene, not a love scene, but a scene where the characters are at the start of like a relationship, and my word, it, the sensual moment when he kisses her on the shoulder while she's facing the other way, because that was probably about the closest they could get it. I mean, bless them, the pair of them, they really tried. I mean, not really, but yeah, I have a thing, like, in this day and age, I don't believe that films need that element, like a love story. Like, if a man and a woman meet, they don't need to have that romantic element in a film these days. I've never felt in the last 10 years, oh man, those two should have definitely got together. There should have definitely been a love story there. I more often than not feel that when they put it in, it just makes me uncomfortable, because I'm like, I didn't need this. This action film doesn't need a love story. I have far more respect for the films that you think are going to do it and don't. They should have done that with this. They should have had a friendship. The low budget thing as well. I can only presume that the actors didn't get paid for this film. There's a bit where a building gets blown up, and yeah. To be fair, they did well to make it look like the building got blown up with what I can only imagine was like a tenor, and a 15-year-old with a laptop. Low budget. So I was going to say some of the acting in it's terrible, but on the flip side, you got to think that, like I say, the Famke Janssen and the Ron Perlman thing, where they're supposed to be starting this relationship, the acting must have been off the chain for them to get through that. However, if you want to talk bad acting, as I mentioned earlier, Richard Dreyfuss is in this film, well known for exceptional acting. If you've not seen it, which I don't, go and watch Close Encounters of the Third Kind and come back and tell me I'm wrong. Jaws, even. He is exceptional in pretty much everything he does. Apart from this, he was in an episode of Happy. I think that was in the first series. It was just like, wow, you're in this. Cool. He's obviously, getting back out there in the acting game, not in this film. He's in this, and his first scene, he's like, hey, I'm the boss, and I need you to do this for me. I need a guy I can trust. His scene at the back end of the film, where him and Ron Perlman play Guess the Accent, because apparently they've now got accents. I couldn't tell you what those accents are supposed to be. I honestly don't know if these people are supposed to be Jewish. And even if they are, what does that mean that the accent needs to be? There's this scene at the back end of this film, I was so confused with what was going on. Not like the story, just why have we suddenly started doing accents? What are these accents? Why is Richard Dreyfuss's acting so terrible at this point in time? Honestly, he must have turned up and they must have said to him, so, little snafu, we can't pay you anything. And he's gone, what? And they're like, we're not going to pay you for this, but we still need you to do the scene. And he's gone, so you're not going to pay me, but you still want me to do the scene. Okay, here's how this one's going to go. I'm going to give you free acting. Because my word, atrocious, terrible. I mean, bless them. I want to say bless them they tried, but I think in some cases I don't think they did. But yeah, a truly terrible film. I think they'd have been better off not making that movie. I imagine if you go and check the credits for that film, Ron Perlman will definitely be listed as like producer, if not executive producer. I wouldn't be surprised if one of the other two, like Famke Janssen or Richard Dreyfuss, was also listed as producer or executive producer. Wow. I also presume that they didn't want to spend any money. That must have been the other thing. I almost want to... Let me see if I can find it on something else, because this will answer us some questions. Hitman. It's always interesting in the things. Hitman Redemption. Wow. Okay, so an aging hitman's last job goes sideways, forcing him to redeem himself. That is the blurb there. Cast and crew. Where is producer? Oh, not even executive producer. Listed as producer Ron Perlman. told you. There are 12 producers on that film. I imagine that's probably a bad sign. 5.4 out of 10. And a Metacritic score of 58. I honestly think they've been generous there. It was awful, ladies and gentlemen. I don't like to give things a bad score. I couldn't have made that film. You know, in a Kevin Smith world, I shouldn't criticise it if I couldn't do better. I said that to somebody once, and they were like, "Absolutely not. It doesn't matter that you couldn't do better. You still have the right to criticise." And I was like, "Yeah, I suppose." Unfortunately, this is a criticism. That film was terrible. I wouldn't have given it 5 out of 10. I'd have probably given it less. How much less? 3 out of 10? Maybe? Anyway. That is the only movie I have watched this week. And by this week, like I say, I think I've been talking about reviewing that film for about 2 weeks. So, on the flip side, on the flippity flop, I have been watching TV. And as I always say at this point in time, TV doesn't mean TV these days. TV means Netflix, Amazon. That's it for me. Netflix and Amazon, I think. I watched Now TV when I watched a series of Ray Donovan. And I was against the clock on that one. But yeah, Netflix and Amazon. I find that I generally prefer Amazon, if you need to know this. But Netflix I keep coming back to because every now and then they've got something I want to watch. Netflix do well with stand-up, although Amazon are moving what appears to be quite heavily into the stand-up game. As with anything in this world, don't ever go up against Amazon. They will steamroller. So, now then, I've written these in the wrong order. That's confusing. Right, so, when will it have been? Doesn't matter, but I'm just trying to work it back to see if I've already spoken about it. Let's work on the principle I didn't. Although, I tell you something, one of those podcasts that I coded, I was talking about something when I was like, towards the back end of one, I was finishing up coding it. I was like, cool. I started the next podcast and I was like, oh my god, I'm coding the same one. Because I was talking about all the same stuff. And then, no, turned out it'll be a different one. Let's talk about that before I review some TV. I did 6 of these podcasts. The rate that these were getting released meant that I was well into a backlog of these. I'd sort of said at the time that I was going to release quite a few in one go, but I know that people struggle to get through the podcasts in a timely fashion. So I haven't done that in the end, but that means that, like, at this point in time, I coded 6. That'll be over the next 6 weeks they'll get released. So that's a month and a half. I've still got, what did that get me up to? 17. So I've got another 4. Then there'll be this one. So that's another month and a bit. Well into the new year before this one will air, sort of thing. Maybe I should just release a batch of them. I don't know. I find it interesting going back and listen. Sometimes I listen to these podcasts while I'm like doing the coding for them, and I cringe because I'm like, why am I talking about that? Other times I find things that are amusing because they're like quite far back in the past, and I'll be talking about something very much like something I'm going to talk about later. But I'll be talking about something like, oh man, this is great. And it'll be something that I don't think is great anymore. Or, oh man, that's terrible. It's something that I think is great. Anyway, so last week I finished watching All or Nothing, the season with the Dallas Cowboys. It started the next season, which was All or Nothing Carolina Panthers. I can't stand Cam Newton. Couldn't bring myself to watch it. Knew that the series after that was are they the Los Angeles Raiders at this point? Have no interest in watching that series. So I was like, okay, I'm kind of out of a series to watch. What can I look at next? Put the beginning of an episode on, which I'm pretty sure I mentioned on last week's podcast, of Raising Dion, TV show on Netflix. Watched the first 10 minutes, was like, yeah, this is cool, I'll come back to it. Was searching. Found, I think I've already talked about this, so I found Preacher Series 3. I've watched the first two series. General overview review of those was they were terrible. Biggest reason being is that they weren't really anything like the books, the comics, however you want to look at it. A couple of people had said to me, Series 3 is actually really good. And I was like, really? Because the first two weren't. Oh, no, Series 3 is really good. And there's this and there's that and there's that. And I was like, well, that actually sounds like close to the books in the short version. So I had it in the back of my head that I was like, maybe one of these days I will watch Series 3 of Preacher. Flicking through, I watched the beginning of that Raising Dion. I was like, yeah, this is good, but I don't feel this is what I want to watch now. Ended up on Amazon Prime, ended up staring at the logo for Series 3 of Preacher, and I was like, sod it. Let's do it. If it's not good, I can turn it off. And on the contrary, it was actually quite good. I was very surprised. One of the things that seems to have made a massive difference in Series 3, two things have made a massive difference in Series 3. One, they've actually started doing it like the books. I never understand why people veer away from the source material. It baffles me. The source material is what makes something popular enough to get a film or a TV show. Then we don't do what was in the source material. Baffling. Unfortunately, you can end up with like the film Battle Angel Alita. The problem with that is it was just a page to screen copy. So, Series 3 Preacher, they went, actually, let's use the books. A good idea. The other thing that they decided to do was actually throw some money at it, and it really shows. Some of the scenes in that third series are beautiful. There's a slow motion gunfight early on, and it's like, nice. Series 3 of Preacher is very good. If you haven't watched Series 1, 2 and 3, it's hard for me to recommend it, unfortunately. Because I couldn't honestly say to another person, Series 3 of Preacher's really good. Have you seen it? Oh, no, I haven't seen the other two series. That's a shame. Because unfortunately, if you haven't watched any of it, you would have to watch the first two series, and they're not great. Series 2 is awful. Series 1 is redeemed by its first and last episode. Series 3 was very good though. Really enjoyable. Close to the source material. Main character, Jesse, goes quote unquote back home. And in the books, they go, the book takes you back to where he was from and spends quite a long time there. And that place is horrible. I think the series did well to capture that. Felt a bit condensed, which probably would have had to because it's a big section of the books. The characters from that section of the story, I think they did really well to capture those characters. And there's this like whole, like the Cassidy story is separate, and that again was very well done. Very enjoyable TV watching. So yeah, it's a bit of one of those. I would definitely recommend Series 3 of Preacher. I just wouldn't recommend anything before it. If you have watched Series 1 and 2 like I had, and you felt like I did, I would certainly say watch Series 3. However, if you haven't, it's up to you. Take your chances with that one. Right, me and Leanne have started on... Is that Series 3? I think it's Series 3 of Stranger Things. Series 3, we are on episode 2. So, by started, I mean we've watched the first episode of Series 3. Interesting thing, I mean obviously they fired out the first 2 series quite quickly. I think there was a bit more of a gap before the third one. I think when you're dealing with children, you've got to try and capitalise. And obviously Stranger Things was huge when it was released. So they'll want to capitalise on all of that. I think they've done quite well to keep getting them out. I think we've sort of waited on this third series quite a while. Which... a few people have been like, oh, you know, if you watch Series 3, oh, it's really good, da da da. We watched the first episode. Can't tell you more than that, other than we watched the recap of what had happened in Series 2. So far through the recap, Leanne's like, I don't remember any of this. And I was like, I was just thinking the same. I don't remember any of the stuff that happened in that series. There was a couple of bits in the recap I was like, oh, I remember that. I remember like the girls living in the forest and stuff. Spoilers. But yeah, honestly, like Series 1 of Stranger Things really stands out to me. I'd have watched that series in one day if it had been up to me. Leanne was very much like, oh, let's watch an episode a day, eke it out. I was like, let's watch the whole thing. But yeah, Series 2. Do not remember a lot of what happened in that series. We've started Series 3. It seems very similar, familiar. Maybe chuckle a bit in various bits. I'm sure we will continue watching that. I imagine anybody that's interested might have already seen it by now. Sorry. So, I mentioned earlier that I'd watched the first 10 minutes of Raising Dion. As it is, with finishing Series 3 of Preacher, I needed something else to watch. Flicking through, and I was like, oh, I started watching that. That was quite good. Got a bit of time. I'll go back to watching that. So, I have watched... From what I've seen, there are 9 episodes in Series 1 of Raising Dion. I am up to episode 5 at this point. One of those things, the superhero thing's big right now. I think I spoke about Brightburn previously, how I like different takes on, the genre, and I like different takes on certain stories. Obviously, Brightburn's a take on the Superman story. This is one of those. Kid one day discovers that he seems to have some kind of superpower. Single mum raising this boy. One of the interesting things about that side of it is that the dad that you only ever see in flashbacks and other things is Michael B. Jordan, which for a TV show or a Netflix or whatever you want to call it, I thought was interesting. He's been in it a few times up to this point. Like I said, I've watched 4 episodes. He's been in it a few times. But yeah, I was like, oh, that's interesting. It's very good. It is very good. The kid, I think it's like I seem to say that he's been introduced, so I'm guessing it's his first acting role. He's very good. Sorry, I seem to have a tickle in the throat, and I can't work out what it is. The drink doesn't seem to be cutting the mustard. Raising Dion. Let's look at this. One of the things about it is that one of the main characters in it is played by Jason Ritter, who is John Ritter's son. As we mentioned Stranger Things, there's a kid in this Raising Dion, and I would put money that he is the brother of one of the kids in Stranger Things, because they are the spitting image of each other. So yeah, kid discovers he's got powers, mostly in the telekinesis sort of area, but he does seem to be able to teleport and other bits and bobs that seem to be appearing. There is a couple of bad guy elements. I don't want to spoil it. Well, one is like an evil corporation feel, like I say, I'm only 4 episodes in, and the other seems to be a what's been named a Lightning Man. I don't want to spoil it. I do think if you like superhero stuff, if you like that sort of thing, definitely check it out. I am thoroughly enjoying it. It's very good. Something that has been in it has been the fact that the boy in it and the mother are... There's been a race element to it. They are black, and there's been a point where the kid was in a situation with another child, and the teachers come down harder on the kid, and he doesn't understand why, because it was the other child's fault and all this. And they've sort of tackled this race issue, which I thought was... Sometimes when things like that are done, they're really out of place. It's just somebody's clearly got an axe to grind. Oh, sorry. But this felt fine. It felt okay. And I thought it was interesting that something would try and attempt to tackle that issue of a mother having to explain to her son that, you know, through his life he's going to be looked at in a certain way, and people are going to treat him a certain way, all because of the colour of his skin. It was just sort of tucked into one episode. There have been the odd mentions of things here and there, and there's this superhero element. I don't want to spoil it. Like, it apparently is a thing for me. I've sort of been trying to work out a couple of elements. There's definitely something with the... did I say his name was Jason Ritter? Yeah, Jason Ritter. There's definitely something with his character. Like the way his story is unfolding. I think I have an idea what that might be, but don't want to spoil it because I don't know if I'm right. So I will probably watch some more of that tomorrow. See how the rest of that series goes. I like it when like these new series come along and they're short. I think the days of the 23 to 26 episode series is probably dead at this point in time. I'm not saying that they're not doing them. I'm sure there are TV shows out there that still do these longer series. But I honestly think from when I watched... What was that? Sinner. Series 1 of Sinner. And it was 6... excuse me, I think it was 6 episodes, and because of it, it was just bang, 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 bang. Something was happening all the time. It's a mystery, so you've got to be, uncovering the mystery, and it was just non-stop, and it was fantastic. So good. Pretty sure there's a second series of that. Shorter episode series forces you to get the information that people want out. Episode in the 20s, you can just dick around. You can give somebody like 2 minutes of the core story and then wrap it in 45 minutes of bubble wrap. Excuse me. So I like these shorter series. This is definitely punchier. One thing American TV has got down to a fine art is the last 30 seconds of an episode. They give you the, oh my god, what's going to happen next? You have to, it breeds binge watching. They do that very well now. So, yeah, Raising Dion, at this point in time, thoroughly enjoying it. Will continue to watch that until that is finished. I've written down something here on my list that I haven't watched, and I'm kind of not sure how to go about it. So, last Friday, El Camino was released. Which, for those of you that don't know, or those of you that don't know quite what that is, that's the Breaking Bad movie. One of those things that kind of wasn't sure whether it was needed. I think I've spoken before about my relationship with Breaking Bad. Watched the first 2 series, thought it was okay, but had a bit of a break from it. By the time I checked back in, everybody was absolutely raving because it was like the last series. And then it finished, and everybody was just going out of their mind about how good it was. I was a bit like, okay, best check out what's going on. Watched series 3 and basically binge watched the rest from there. And it was absolutely amazing. I will still say to this day, hands down, probably the best TV show there has been. I put it up there with The Sopranos. Weirdly, and this is one of those for me personally. I thoroughly enjoyed Angel as a series. I was never a huge Buffy fan, but was a big Angel fan. Likewise with things like Firefly and stuff like that Joss Whedon era. I think the last series of Angel and like the last episode and stuff, exceptional TV viewing. Breaking Bad, for me personally, I don't know for a lot of people, is hands down possibly the best TV show there has ever been. I watched it and then I attempted to watch it again straight away, which is never a smart move. I did that with Sopranos. You can't go back. You just can't go back straight away. Too much happens. So, oh jeez. At least that cold's gone anyway. El Camino. I wasn't sure a movie was required. I feel that sometimes people struggle to let things go. I struggled to let Breaking Bad go, but it had already gone. That for me was a saving grace. Breaking Bad had been long gone by the time I finished it. Because it took me the time to watch 3 series, and it had been finished a little while when people had been raving about it. So I find that people struggle to let things go. I know that some of the cast struggle to let that series go. And I think you do. I think you leave something behind. I know, what's his name? This is one of the things about having a cold, that your brain just does not work. Brain will not work. Jax from Sons of Anarchy. What the freaking hell? Come on, brain, you can do it. Charlie Hunnam. I know I saw something recently that said that he really struggled to leave that role behind. I think it's just part of it. You leave a part of you behind, and it's hard to let that go and move on and stuff. So I wasn't sure that a movie was needed, but unlike me, the people that made the movie obviously thought different. By the looks of things, they've got a lot of the characters back from the series, and the movie has had exceptional reviews. So I'm like, cool. Here's the thing, though. Excuse me 1 second. I'll have to work out if I can cut this out. I definitely won't, but I'll have to work out if I can. So, I've always wanted to watch Breaking Bad again from the start. And I've never found the right time. Part of me wanted Leanne to watch it. There was points in time where I was like, I really think you should watch Breaking Bad, but not now, because it's not a good time for you. Some of the subject matter wouldn't have been good, so on and so forth. So I've always been like, oh man, I really want to watch Breaking Bad again. But it needs to be at the right time. And that time has never apparently arisen. Until now. So I'm like, what do? Do I watch the movie, having working on the principle that I know what happened in Breaking Bad, and I know what happened at the end and all that sort of stuff? Or is now the time to watch the series? So it's 5 series. Is it now that's the time? I tried to convince Leanne the other night that we should have watched it, and instead we watched Stranger Things. I think it might have got to that point that I think she's probably never going to watch it. So I might have to watch it on my own. So, is now the time to watch Breaking Bad from the start, and then the culmination of all that is to then watch the movie at the end, so it's all fresh? One of the things that I didn't really appreciate as much at the time, I certainly appreciate a lot more now. One of those sort of nice little things about Breaking Bad is Bill Burr's in it. Obviously, being a huge Bill Burr fan, I mean that's kind of cool that going back and watching it, I'll see the scenes that he was in and that he did. So that'll be cool. So I need to make a decision. If I'm honest, before I put Raising Dion on today, I did hover over Breaking Bad because it's on Netflix. So I suspect I may start Breaking Bad from the beginning after I finish this Raising Dion. We'll see. Okay, let's talk games. VR, as far as VR is concerned, I've been trying to get some more stars on the Lightsaber Dojo on Vader Immortal Episode 2, and I have been playing a bit of Beat Saber. Managed to do the level that I was stuck on. Man, that was a monster. Move your arms 650 meters in the time it takes you to get through the song. That was tough. Kind of at the point that I probably feel like I need a new VR game. But I have got stuff to play, like I say, Beat Saber and stuff like that. And I'm plugging away at the lightsaber dojo. Did unlock a new lightsaber the other day, but it was yellow, and I was like, wow, I put a lot into getting that, and it was yellow. So we'll keep plugging away, keep trying to get the additional stars that I'm missing. Can't get past the level I'm on. I'm on level 34, and just can't get past it. It's very difficult. So that is the VR stuff. Still waiting for Arizona Sunshine. Still no sign of that coming out for the Quest. I think we're now in the point where it should have been out 2 months ago. So as I might have mentioned, I have coded a lot of podcasts over the weekend. And I mentioned earlier that a certain podcast made me chuckle. Or as the kids would say, it made me LOL. Because there's a podcast where I have reviewed the Ghost Recon Breakpoint beta. It's not the review of the beta that made me chuckle. It's what I said at the back end of the review. So the review of the beta was nailed on. That beta was absolutely atrocious, and I think I said at the time, Ubisoft, you should be ashamed of yourself, and they should have. It was a terrible beta. However, at the back end of that review, I said, definitely going to wait on reviews of that game. Definitely going to wait on reviews before I go anywhere near that game. Definitely will not be buying that game day one. So, as I might have already mentioned, on the day that Ghost Recon was released, Breakpoint, I got to what I presume is the last boss in Borderlands 3 and couldn't do it, and was thoroughly sick to the back teeth of Borderlands 3 by that point. And a couple of days before that, I'd been watching these videos where somebody was playing Breakpoint, and they were playing it as it was like a true stealth game, which was a completely different way of that I'd seen of playing that game. I'd also watched another video where somebody was talking about how monetization is killing games, and Breakpoint is a prime example of that. So, rather than waiting on the reviews for this game, and rather than not getting it day one, I went out and bought Breakpoint. Weird thing was, when I went to buy it, it was sold out in the shop I went to, which I thought was strange. I did manage to get it, and I managed to get it cheaper than everywhere else was selling it for, which was good. I'm not going to review it at this point in time because I haven't finished it, although I've realised that as far as my game reviewing goes, I generally don't review games. I talk about them for weeks on end, and then I don't actually review them. I had considered doing like a one-off review of this game, so we'll see how that goes. But if I had have waited for the reviews, I'd have seen, I think it was PC Gamer gave it 40%. It's been getting 5 out of 10s. I think IGN waited like 2 weeks to release their review and then went, yeah, it's like a 6.5 out of 10. It's been getting some atrocious reviews. I think somebody told me the other day that on the Xbox Store, the score of it is 2.8. I presume that's out of 5. but it wouldn't surprise me if it was out of 10. What I can say at this point in time is it's a game that it's a mess. It really is. It's got so many issues. The best review I saw was somebody said that this is a true step back for the franchise, and in a lot of ways it is. But like any game out there that has a terrible review, I seem to find my way to liking it. What I can tell you is this. I like the game more than I like the beta. I've played it quite a bit, and I've enjoyed what I've played. It's got some horrible bugs, which they seem to be ironing out without managing to do like a patch. I presume they can do it through like the servers or something. I definitely haven't seen any updates for this game since day one, but they do seem to have ironed out some of the issues. So, I don't know. Can that be done through servers? For example, one day, a mission I was doing was so broken that when I unselected the mission and reselected it, the name of the mission was just in code. It was like hashtag mission name. That was interesting. A couple of days later, I was like, I'll try that mission again, see what it looks like now. And it seemed to be fixed. And I just went and completed the mission. So, who knows what goes on there. Some elements I like, some elements I don't. The menu system is atrocious. The way that I had to go about setting up the controls, no game should ever ask you to set controls up like that. Some things I like. The weapon system, the upgrading system's fine, the weapon system's fine. The bivouac system's kind of cool. There are things about it that is actually quite good. The fact that you don't have the team is just a baffling thing. I'm not going to give a full review now. I know I keep saying that, and then I go on to review various bits of it. At this point in time, I will tell you that I'm playing it. I am enjoying it. It is the only game I'm playing outside of VR. And it is holding my attention enough. I agree with the reviews that I've seen. My review will be different. Give me another week. Obviously check in with me next week. I'll give you a bit of a review. I honestly think I might do like a mini game review and just release it as like a little episode and release it kind of soon. So if you follow the podcast and stuff like that, you might get that before you get this, which will just be weird. So yeah, Ghost Recon Breakpoint. The thing about it was that it made me laugh when I was coding that podcast, and I'm going, definitely going to wait to run reviews, definitely not getting it day one. Apparently the word definitely means nothing to this guy. As I mentioned earlier, this is sort of the back end, and normally this would be the bit where I talk about the gym. I haven't been. I can't do the going to the gym with a cold. For the short reason being, I can't breathe, like with my asthma and stuff. As you can see, there's apparently a lot of coughing and stuff at the moment. So the gym is not the place for me right now. Once I'm fit and healthy, I will go back, but I haven't been. So I can't give you any more of an update on that one. Sorry about the coughing and the sniffing and the nose blowing and the energy drink drinking. It's what I think at this point in time it's the difference between getting through this podcast and not. But yes, I apologise for that. So that is actually it. Let's see. When he said it was a short one, yeah, it's over the short one time. So I'll end it there, and I'll speak to you guys next week. Take care. Love you. Bye. So there you go. What do you think of that? Another one done. Another week gone. Another week closer to whatever you're looking forward to. YouTube watchers, make sure you're YouTube subscribers. Like, comment, share, all the good stuff. Everybody jump over to the Cookiecast.com. Check us out over there. Send us some love. How about that? So yeah, there we go. Another one done. And until next time, I'll say bye, and I'll see you then. Bye-bye.